This is a live Channels television event.
Never be in vain to serve with heart and might one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Please be seated. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the final phase of the past 3 days that we've spent with focus on discussions towards powering the Lagos economy with its real opportunities and endless possibilities. You'll agree with me after you would have listened to all that was said and that will be encapsulated by the two individuals I'm going to introduce shortly, that it's been quite engaging. And the road forward, the way forward really is that of how soon can we really get it done quickly? Not that can it be done. We have seen that it can be done. Permit me at this point to quickly recognize three individuals who need to be singled out. First is the first civilian governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Lateef Kayode Jakonde, an elder statesman. He's here with us. On the opening day, these next two gentlemen were here. They sat quietly throughout the entire proceedings. They were here yesterday and they're here now. I have the pleasure of recognizing the presence of Monsieur Jacques Champagne de Labrioli, the ambassador of France to Nigeria. Equally with us is Monsieur François Sastonnet, the Consul General of France to Nigeria. You're welcome. The presentation of recommendations and resolutions at EHIINGBETI 2014 will be made now by Mrs. Maureen Desalu, Managing Director, Risk Watch Insurance Brokers. Let's put our hands together for her as she comes. And Mr. Additional.
The final lap of EHIINGBETI 2014, the Lagos Economic Summit, which is themed Powering the Lagos Economy, Real Opportunities, Endless Possibilities. Well, not long ago, they did take a look at some of the proposed recommendations, and they talked about it, and they're going to eventually go back and put them all together and represent them. But here today, the governor is present at the session, which the vice Deputy Governor is also present here, I beg your pardon. But yes, indeed, they're all here to present it to the governor. They'll make their recommendations, and then it will end today, the Lagos Economic Summit.
Well, anyway, I think, Chamberlain, I think it's quite an interesting moment. It's been, almost 72 hours. We've been here looking at the economy of Lagos, how it can actually be harnessed and be powered. I think one interesting thing now, Chamberlain, I think for me, the icing is seeing the executive governor, the former executive governor of the state. Some would say, he's one of the icons of the state. Lagosians would also remember him for the housing policy he put in place. That's Alhaji Lateef Jakonde, taking time to be part of this closing ceremony. And of course, recall that the governor spoke with us on Sunrise Daily this morning. He said, well, the recommendations or the outcome has nothing to do with the governor, the government. It is solely the economic group, summit group of Lagos affair, but they were also keen and look at it as a government and see how all of this can be implemented. I know that the country is excited that we're looking at power here in Lagos. the focus of the nation is also seeing how they can improve on that particular sector. And we also spoke with Mr. Fenstorm yesterday of the World Bank. He talked about a partnership that the World Bank is also having with the country and even the government of Lagos State to see that this is workable. I think almost everyone is excited about it. Don't forget that almost a year ago, President Obama in South Africa also spoke about the issue of electricity, the issue of power on the continent, and that gave birth to the Power Africa concept, which we have also seen is geared towards this again. So I think Chamberlain will say the feedback from previous summits has also been looked at here, so that they can now know what they've been able to implement, and the leftovers can actually be carried over to what they will be getting out of this particular summit, which is the 7th in the series.
Oh yes, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, well, yes, they are all here. They will take a look at the issues. For instance, how can electricity delivered to Lagos be accelerated was one of the matters that was considered. Now, they also do have recommendations about that particular one. Some of the recommendations here is that Lagos can assert its influence by partnering with the DISCOs, that's the distribution companies, to plan for effective and efficient distribution, reduction of losses, and efficiency of delivery. They can also decentralize power distribution companies, and then the financial service sector needs to understand how the power sector works, an area of support. Now, those were some of the recommendations about that particular issue. So that's the way it will also go. So for every issue, there is a recommendation. And so that is what we hope that they will consider here at this final phase. The governor is expected to make his also comments as well, and then they will go ahead and distribute the recommendations for the summit.
This year, 2014, the objectives were really power. Electricity serves a number of purposes in the processes of socio-economic development and growth. Power as an enabler was discussed. Power as a handle was on the agenda. Power as a catalyst. The primacy of power in development makes it understandable and appropriate that this year's summit has powering the Lagos economy, real opportunities and endless possibilities as the theme. And the objectives included to gain a better understanding of how the government of Lagos State can facilitate an improvement in the supply of electricity to Lagos. To dimension the issues, challenges, and opportunities in the Lagos power sector. Then we went on to listen to the governor when the conference was opened. And the governor's address was very, very inspiring. Notwithstanding this being his last summit as governor, and he would have been forgiven for a triumphal, backward-looking speech, the opening address delivered by His Excellency provided a fitting, forward-looking framework. His remarks reiterated the primacy of the focus on power, agriculture, transport, and housing path in achieving the Lagos State government's growth and development ambitions. He presented a copious list of actions taken since the summit in 2012, which illustrate the commitment of Lagos State government to its vision of Lagos as a model megacity, a hub for activity, and the impact which investment in infrastructure renewal is having on improving the opportunity space, raising cost efficiency, and above all, enabling residents achieve their ambitions. With respect to the importance of the power sector, he shared the impact on various facets of life and living in Lagos, of action taken to improve street lighting as a result of the state's independent power projects. He drew attention to to the challenge of going beyond the headline data in achieving and sustaining inclusive growth, which positively affects the realities of residents. We also got some very good lessons from the experiences of our foreign visitors. A moving speech by Mikhail Saakashvili, the former president of Georgia. Mr. Saakashvili drew attention to a number of characteristics and actions which enabled Georgia achieve and sustain a turnaround in its fortunes. By sheer determination to achieve well-defined objectives, you can generate the power that would be enough for Nigeria if you will put your heart to it with commitment and without personal interest. That was a quotable quote. Government should decentralize the process of getting public services, documents, in order to achieve more results in the shortest possible time. Willingness to take controversial, unusual policy measures and actions. He said, genuine reforms come with some form of suffering that the people will have to bear. Strengthening institutional capacities, which, as he stated, then ensures that it is to be borne in mind, he noted, that we are building something that when we leave will not look like us, but will remind people of us. Yesterday night, we had the experience of age and great administration from Mr. Pedro Pires, former president of Cape Verde. He reminded us that leaders must develop transformation agendas and action plans for implementation. Leaders should stop managing poverty and instead channel those energies into managing development, because development management cannot be equated with poverty management. Leaders need to spearhead projects of transformation agendas and vigorously seek to realize those agendas.